What are the present and future conditions of image making? Where could media and technology take us? Where should we, as image makers, bring media and technology to? Where should we lay our sight, SIGHT, and how should we extend our sight, SITE, of action? What are we looking for? What should we seek to envision? And what should the year 2050 look like? One generation on, how would we deploy art, artistry, and artfulness, and technology as a force for good to work with and to extend our eyes, our bodies, our minds, soul, heart, and to co-produce new, creative, and more equitable possibilities? Will we navigate the world wearing augmented and virtual reality people's shoes to immerse into their lives so that we can understand what others' lived experience could be like? And with these lenses that make life even better than it really is, will we be able to make every encounter as if it's new, as if it is the first time we're encountering it, and to recall the pure, visceral joy of looking, of experiencing the spectacle? And can we embody the sort of confusion, the surprise, the shock, and the joy of unknown, not knowing? Like the first TV was dead, but it isn't dead. But now our eyes are glued to screens, smoke screens, tiny screens, screens of all sizes, windows into yet other worlds, with drama on tap, documentary, reality, make-believe, anytime, anywhere, even simultaneously with others. If you would like that, switch it on while you're watching something with a friend, make comments, make running commentaries. And your heartbeats are almost in sync. Almost is the key word. You can also binge on box sets. Binging wasn't a term that we used before, but now it's legitimate. We can watch these screens in brightly lit spaces, not darkened spaces, and customize just for you. And who said attention span was dead? It's well and alive. And who says romance is dead when you can Netflix and chill? And what will we kill next now that we've killed cinema? What about film schools? Shall we kill film schools? After all, everybody has become a filmmaker. YouTube, film archives. YouTube makes film archives quite redundant. You don't have to have membership to sign up to see something. You don't have to wear gloves. You just switch on your YouTube, your computer. Well, Peter Kubelka, who is a filmmaker, he already knew that quite a while back, though, because in his film school in Frankfurt, he didn't teach filmmaking. What did he teach? He taught students how to cook, because for him, filmmaking requires precision, detail. It's a craft. And therefore, in his classes, students are cooking. They're thinking about ingredients, they're chopping things. So it's all about the process. And then there's another German filmmaker, Werner Herzog, of course. And Werner Herzog also has another idea of the film school before we killed it this time around, because he named his film school the Rogue Film School. So it's conducted at, quote, infrequent intervals. It will not teaching. Instead, it teaches you, quote, about a way of life, about the excitement that makes film possible. What will you learn in such a film school? Well, you learn lock picking, you learn the athletic side of filmmaking, you learn how to neutralize bureaucracy. And what that means is that you learn how to fake your own forms so that you can shoot, you can film. The film school is not for the faint-hearted, but for those who have traveled on foot, for those who have worked as wardens in lunatic asylums. And since today everyone has become a filmmaker, Well, we have also sculpted the sort of perfect love child of Joseph Beuys, Andy Warhol, and Frida Kahlo, because what they had only dared to propose or managed to actualize with a sample size of one is now fulfilled exponentially, because everybody is an artist, and everybody specifically is a media artist with 15 seconds, 15 minutes, 15 weeks of instant fame. And all these on these little screens, will we also be able to swipe right to love, equity, diversity, and inclusion? So I invented a dating app back in 2015. It's not called Tinder, it's called Hinder, because it's an unintuitive dating app. So how does it work? Well, unlike Tinder, this is quite disobedient. So it actually counters your human instinct to try to find your tribe, to find someone like yourself. Instead, Hinder pushes you out of your comfort zone and takes you with someone not like you, someone who's at the opposite end of the spectrum, politically, socially, economically, in terms of cultural capital, in terms of cognitive modes, etc. The idea is that it focuses you, it forces you to run into people outside of your comfort zone, outside of your professional, social, disciplinary circles. And in 2016, with the Brexit referendum vote coming in, and now, of course, today with extreme right-wing views as the norm, that's the norm now, that's the gold standard even. I just thought that this sort of app might be useful. And maybe in one generation's time, such an app will have run its course. Maybe I would have rolled it out, it would have been used, and hopefully it might have bridged divides and even changed cultures. And then we could dump this app, which is what Met is supposed to dump them, because they work. And in 30 years' time, will we replace digital poverty with maybe what we could call digital wealth? But because why shouldn't everybody that made us learn how to do online payment, how to do captioning, and how to lag, because you like things real time? And no, the internet is not for exposing corrupt government deeds by leaking the documents. Instead, it's to facilitate pure and the filthy joy of watching furriness in like this. You almost feel like you can touch them, or like that, more fur, or like that, it's coming at you even closer, as if you can touch them. Just as film used to be touchable or untouched. So by 2050, will we also finally celebrate the real authors? No, not those male guys, not the same old people that we refer to, but someone like this person who helped to make and who made Men with a Movie Camera, Dziga Vertov. But we call her the woman with an editing bench. Or someone like this person. Haven't they made us see the world anew? Haven't they made us see ourselves? And haven't they showed? And will we also realize in 30 years' time how the digital of the ones and zeros of the computer is actually inseparable to the digits of the bodies? So we're talking about the fingers. And if you look at tapestry, you'll find that I talk about the early computer on this tapestry. And the early computer, of course, was inspired by the traditional weaving loom because of the punching card system, the memory card system. And of course, Alan Turing, who is the father of the computer, he was a very highly accomplished long distance runner. And of course, running When you run, you're using your toes, digits. And we would have known nothing about the computer if it wasn't for this woman, Ada Lovelace. What did she do? She inscribed what Charles Babbage was doing with the early computers. So she was the first computer programmer. Okay, so that's all about 2050. What about now? What's going on now? Well, we're living in a moment of multiple global emergencies. That's why we're online. But the COVID-19 virus strain is not quite our enemy. I would like to suggest that it's our lack of vision that works against us. We turned a blind eye to the warning signs. The world looked the other way when the Chinese flu hit Asia. We only declared a pandemic only when white bodies began to fall. We stood by, we were complicit as bystanders. We were watching as bodies and minds of the wrong class, wrong color, wrong class, wrong color, wrong construct were violated. Not accidentally, but they have been violated systematically. Prior to the pandemic, we had also already known that we needed novel, multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary solutions for our global wicked problems. And we knew that creativity is pivotal to the mix. And this is evidenced by the United Nations campaigns to celebrate the role of creativity and innovation in all aspects of human development. And as we race towards Industry 4.0, a still higher premium will be placed on human skills such as creativity, judgment, and intellectual agility. All the stuff that used to be labeled soft skills, but now they're important in the face of machines and AI, or so they say. And many are stepping forward now to be seen, to be heard, and to be counted, using art, artistry, and artful ways to make art and to make change for the better. After all, we need new playbooks that are artful, atypical, and agile to equip us for yet other novel crises. And as the World Health Organization states, the coronavirus isn't the big one. It isn't even the last one or the only one. And artists have always invented new forms of thinking, organizing, new worlds, new systems that critique and extend dominant approaches, dominant structures. And what is the new normal unit of measure of success? Well, according to the Lancet, it's not just the self or the individual anymore. It's not even just the society anymore or your immediate community. The measure of success is the entire planet, because until you can vaccinate every single person, you're not safe. So that's the scale we're talking about now. And by 2050, will artists be valued as provocateurs, as critical friends, as creative problem solvers with novel insights and artful solutions that reflect back on us in new ways, that make us interrogate our own positions and stances? And if film schools will be dead, what about art schools then? Will art schools up its game? Can it remain the last true fort that enables and teaches and allows and prioritizes autonomy of thinking? How adaptable, responsive, and versatile will the art school be? Can it sustain, or how can we sustain or turbocharge the art school ethos to build the learner as an independent, creative, and critical thinker? Okay, enough about art schools. What about mainstream schools? In 30 years' time, will schools finally teach us how to see one another, to see the world, to see the place around us? Will schools stop failing or boring people who can't sit still or who embody a different ontology? And will schools instead teach across the arts and sciences to create the next generation of Leonardo da Vinci-s, whose dyslexia and ADHD explained his restlessness and hunger, curiosity and disrespect for boundaries of knowledge? He painted, he made drawings, he made flying machines, parachutes, diving equipment. It makes you wonder, where is he trying to go? Why is he trying to escape? Well, many of those drawings didn't work. But more importantly, he's left this legacy for us, and also the legacy of curiosity and hunger for knowledge. And of late, neurodiversity is sold as the next talent opportunity or competitive advantage by Harvard, by Nesta, by the World Economic Forum, and so on. So Leonardo da Vinci was neurodivergent. So he was atypical. He had dyslexia and ADHD, for example. And 30% of artists and designers also have ADHD or are neurodivergent rather. And that's higher than the general population, which is 15% or 1 in roughly 7 people, which is still quite high. And neurodiversity or neurodivergence is closely linked with creativity and visual thinking. So in 30 years' time, will someone like this man in the photo who left school by 14 be given the full opportunity to learn, to thrive, so that he didn't need to leave school? He left because he couldn't complete his mathematical examination, but then he went on to teach himself 3 languages, holding 3 jobs, raising 3 kids in a small flat. But one other thing, so by 2050, will we finally be able to solve the mystery of the origin of the author of the photo? If you look at the arm of this man, doesn't he look like he's taking a selfie? I mean, that's why I look so shocked. I was looking at my father. However, it's the wrong century. And in 30 years' time, will the state funding of art and culture become outmoded? And will we be crowdsourcing to fund our practice so that we don't have to compromise on values and so on? And after all, the founder of Kickstarter, Perry Chen, is an artist, and he very much intended that as a platform that mimics somehow the previous mode of patronage. And will there be more of this sort of creative entanglements with technology? We currently use, knowingly so, platforms that actively harvest our data, Google, YouTube, WhatsApp, and so on. What's happened to these sort of deep partnerships, creative partnerships that happened between artists and firms? Could we have new versions of that, where artists are actively employed and paid for, obviously, as disruptors, as making artistic interventions to hack, to hijack machineries and technology? And 30 years later, apart from curating the perfect Instagram posts or another blockbuster art show that attracts global audiences, will curators finally remember the meaning of the word curate, which refers to healing and guiding? So will curators curate spaces for healing, given the deeply polarized world today and the culture wars? And will we curate spaces to bridge social divides so that we become more equitable and inclusive and creative, and so that we can create spaces for quiet reflection and growth? And in 30 years' time, will we look out for and look after other bodies and minds around us? Not just immediately around us, but the whole planet, because that's humanity's scale of operation. And I guess that's it. Thank you so much.